On our planet of civilization, humans have stepped into the intelligent era. Ubiquitous connectivity, pervasive intelligence, technology builds a better world. Our efforts to build a green world never cease. Renewable energy has become a main energy source, accessible to every person, home and organization. Huawei is launching the new FusionSolar 6.0 Smart PV Solution, absorbing solar energy to deliver clean power. AI Boost FusionSolar Smart PV Solution for optimal LCOE and grid supporting. Smart Tracking Control Algorithm optimizes tracking angle with local plant terrain and weather condition. Capturing more solar energy and increasing yield by around 1%. Smart IV Curve Diagnosis 4.0 is compatible with shingled modules and supports inspection on mixed installation of PV modules in one stream. For one 100 megawatt PV plant, a thorough detection of all streams takes only 15 minutes. Smart Grid Connection Algorithm supports PV plant to stably operate in all grid scenarios. Smart ESS enables integration between PV and energy storage system. Huawei AI-powered residential and C&I Smart PV solution delivers optimal electricity cost and active safety. Arcing protection, accurate detection and quick shutdown. Reliable design without quick wear parts, ensuring solar inverter stable operation. Built-in nighttime PID recovery, securing solar module performance. Smart PV modules optimize power generation of each module, increasing energy yield by up to 30%. Module-level intelligent monitoring, enabling you to learn PV plant status in real time. Modular design ensures flexible capacity expansion and optimal investment. Dual power, battery ready for optimal electricity cost. Smart energy management reduces power consumption costs and makes clean power accessible to all. Since the evolution of life, the sun, with its energy, Since the evolution of life, the sun, with its energy, nourishing the earth, advocated the prosperity of human agricultural civilization. The use of coal, oil, and other fossil energy produced the Industrial Revolution. Computers, alongside communication technology, helped us enter the information society. Today, the Internet is eliminating the boundaries of time and space. Now, with cloud integration, our society is becoming more connected, collaborative, and intelligent than ever before. In energy field, the environment can no longer tolerate the pollution produced by fossil fuels. With changes in energy production and consumption taking place, renewable energy is leading us to a sustainable future. In energy production, technological innovation is bringing photovoltaic power costs down. With the established application of energy storage technology, renewable energy will progressively become the main source for energy supply to achieve efficient multi-energy coexistence. In energy consumption, with the transition to electrification, electric vehicles will progressively replace traditional vehicles. As home energy management technology develops, homes, whilst consuming energy, will also become independent power production units. In energy information sharing, communication technology and IoT technology continue to excel, making the connection between energy production and consumption closer. Energy information efficiently gathers on the cloud platform, centralizing intelligent allocation and management. In the foreseeable future, the energy internet will expand from districts to cities and to countries, providing sustainable energy to a smart society. Huawei, the world's leading ICT and network energy solutions provider, continuously focuses on digital information technology and power electronic technology. Combining smart power generation, consumption, and connection with cloud sharing concepts. Integrating renewable energy with cloud computing, big data, and wireless communication technology, focusing on being the energy internet enabler and supplier. In energy production, based on the vision of simplification, digitalization, and automatic global O&M, Huawei has created the Smart PV Solution and continues to innovate. System reaches full intelligence. Based on the concept of silicon over copper, the Smart PV controller becomes the prodigy of the PV sub-array and the core for safety and protection. By integrating the smart tracking system, power supply and communication are simplified, the system costs are reduced, power line communication technology and 4G LTE technology build a simple and reliable PV wireless transmission system. The FusionSolar Cloud Management Center remotely and intelligently manages the power plant, reducing on-site personnel. With over 3% lift in power generation and over 50% boost in O&M efficiency, the cost of PV electricity is reduced significantly. At the same time, the integration with energy storage technology enables stable PV power generation and rapid regulation. In energy consumption, Huawei integrates Huawei Inside fast charging technology with intelligent sensor technology, keeping the electric vehicle charging time within 15 minutes. With information from charging piles and vehicles flowing into the cloud, energy usage efficiency can be effectively improved. Huawei Fusion Home Smart Energy Solution, with Smart Energy Center at its heart, effectively integrates smart PV power generation, smart power consumption, energy storage, and electric vehicle technology. Module-level intelligent control and management technology not only improves safety, but also utilizes the entire rooftop, increasing power generation by over 10%. Meanwhile, the unified Huawei IoT platform balances home power generation, consumption, and energy storage, enabling homes to achieve zero energy consumption. In energy management, by incorporating cloud computing, big data analysis, and artificial intelligence technology, the Energy Internet Cloud Platform is created, enabling a centralized and intelligent energy internet management system. Huawei consistently promotes the value of open, collaborative, and win-win by working closely with industry partners to build an open energy internet ecosystem. Energy internet is coming at an accelerating pace. Future that is now.
Artificial intelligence, aka AI, can make predictions from massive amounts of data and real-time observations. But what exactly is AI? You might think it's a robot or a smartphone. But for me, I learned about it from a cartoon character named Doraemon. In the cartoon, Doraemon could help his friend do anything he wanted. In the real world, what is AI able to do for us now and in the future?
你觉得 AI 可以帮助你化妆吗？
可以啊，AI 能帮我解决选择恐惧症吧。
20年后的 AI 应该就是生活的一部分了。
我就担心我可能会失业。
I'm thinking if it can make money for me or for us. Can it?
I'm not sure if you could make big money with AI, but it could definitely help you accomplish more in less time. Indeed, teaching computers to learn is far more efficient than to program them with every single skill needed to complete the task. While AI technology brings huge potential to business, its super expensive computing power also keeps them away. However, with the help of cloud providers like Huawei Cloud and AI development platforms like the Model Arts, business of all sizes can now use AI to take on repetitive jobs and create new possibilities. Just so you know, astronomers are using AI to find exoplanets in distant solar systems. Doctors are using AI in cancer screening. Car manufacturers are using AI to produce self-driving cars. With AI, let's grow with intelligence.
On our planet of civilization, humans have stepped into the intelligent era. Ubiquitous connectivity, pervasive intelligence, technology builds a better world. Our efforts to build a green world never cease. Renewable energy has become a main energy source, accessible to every person, home and organization. Huawei is launching the new FusionSolar 6.0 Smart PV Solution. Absorb solar energy to deliver clean power. AI Boost FusionSolar Smart PV Solution for optimal LCOE and grid supporting. Smart Tracker Control Algorithm optimizes tracking angle with local plant terrain and weather condition. Capturing more solar energy and increasing yield by around 1%. Smart IV Curve Diagnosis 4.0 is compatible with shingled modules and supports inspection on mixed installation of PV modules in one stream. For one 100 megawatt PV plant, a thorough detection of all streams takes only 15 minutes. Smart Grid Connection Algorithm supports PV plant to stably operate in all grid scenarios. Smart ESS enables integration between PV and energy storage system. Huawei AI-powered residential and C&I Smart PV Solution delivers optimal electricity cost and active safety. Protection, accurate detection, and quick shutdown. Reliable design without quick wear parts, ensuring solar inverter stable operation. Built-in nighttime PID recovery, securing solar module performance. Smart PV modules optimize power generation of each module, increasing energy yield by up to 30%. Module-level intelligent monitoring, enabling you to learn PV plant status in real time. Modular design ensures flexible capacity expansion and optimal investment. Dual power, battery ready for optimal electricity cost. Smart energy management reduces power consumption costs and makes clean power accessible to all.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to our third webinar event in our FusionSolar webinar today. Hope that you are all doing well and keeping safe. And thanks for joining us with our FusionSolar webinar event. Just to introduce due to the webinar series that we are hosting. Today is our third webinar in the series of webinars that we are hosting during the course of October as well as November. And I just want to also remind you guys that should you attend 3 or more of the webinars, you'll be able to redeem a special reward. Going forward, we will look at today's agenda. We will have 3 topics to discuss in this webinar. First, presented by Mr. David Sanchez, will be the Huawei predicts 10 trends in the solar PV for 2025. Then we will have Mr. Rizwan Razak looking at the topic of 2020 Huawei FusionSolar AI Boost Solar PV Solar Farm Solutions. And then our special guest, Mr. Titus Kush from Jinko Solar, will take care of the topic of Jinko Solar innovations for guaranteed LCOE reduction. We will then move over to a easy quiz and a small giveaway. When we get to that stage, you will see on the top of the screen, you'll have a questionnaire button. If you can please just click on the questionnaire, fill in some few questions that we have for you. And then later in the webinar, we will introduce some winners. After the quiz, we will move into a live Q&A. And for the Q&A, I just want to remind all our attendees throughout the webinar, should you have any questions, please raise your questions in the chat box, marking it with the question mark symbol allocated in the chat box. And we will later then attend to those questions and also answer them live in this webinar. As I mentioned just now, we will have the questionnaire where you as our participants will be able to stand a chance to win some amazing prizes. I will now introduce to you Mr. David Sanchez, account manager with Huawei. Mr. Sanchez has been working in the PV industry since 2006, and he has an extensive and international experience in solar projects and PV solutions. He is also an expert in PV inverters as well as LCOE. Let's welcome Mr. David.
Hello, everyone. Thank you very much for joining today. This is David Sanchez. I am Accounts Director for Huawei Australia. Right now, broadcasting live from Australia. First of all, and most important, I hope that everyone is okay. So these are difficult times, but I believe we will overcome those. So stay safe. This is the most important thing right now. So today, we're going to talk about solar trends, the solar trends for the future. So it's very important to say that Huawei, as leader of the market, we perform every year an intense research. We talk to experts, we gather their feedback to understand the future of solar. This year, for the first time, we are releasing our conclusions, our perspective to the market, to the public. So we're going to talk about the 10 trends for the next 5-10 years, as you can see in the slide right now. So first of all, digitalization. So we do believe that more than 90% of the solar farm will be fully digital by 2025. So what is digitalization? Digitalization is the management of the big data in order to improve the performance of the solar farm. In that case, inverter, as a fundamental part of the solar farm, will play a major role when it comes to data collection and transmission. How? Basically, all the sensors included in the inverter will be able to analyze and operate huge amounts of information. As a metaphor, we could talk about a human body. So all the organs will give all the necessary information to the brain. In this case, our inverters are the organ, and the brain is the solar farm. But not only the inverters. We believe that actually the trackers, the power stations, and the modules will become smarter, will become more digital. Again, this is not only the future, it's the present, but it's definitely the close future for the solar farms. As number two, we have AI, artificial intelligence. So we believe that more than 70% of the solar farms by 2025 will use this kind of technology. So basically, the grounds of AI are the massive data collection for self-learning, analyze, and improvement. So this can only lead to an increase of the performance of the solar farm. As an example, the digital IV curve diagnosis software. So inverters will be able to collect all the information, huge amount of data, and with high accuracy, perform the IV curve diagnosis. Curve 3.0 is even able to perform the IV curve diagnosis to bifacial models. So this is a or to trackers. This will come and this will lead only to an increase of the generation. So we do believe by 2025, more than 80% of the solar farms globally won't need any human on it. Huge amount of megawatts, hundreds of megawatts, are only controlled by one guy and one dog. And actually, the dog is the most important guy because he's controlling that there are no thieves in the solar farm. Again, a solar solution needs to be able to be controlled remotely. And for that, you need to remove all the wearing parts, like fuses, like screen, etc., etc. But in parallel, we also see robot applications as an application of AI used in the solar farm for some tasks, like the module cleaning. Again, self-learning, efficiency, reducing mistakes. This is what it's all about. Number 4, support to the grid. This is actually a fundamental topic, especially in some countries like Australia, where it's definitely the most important topic. Why? With the new energy share increasing massively in the generation mix, the grid is being affected. So we see how the short circuit ratio is collapsing, is going to very, very low values. What does it mean? This means low impedance and also low stability for frequency and voltage. So that's a huge challenge. So in the future and in the present, the PV solutions, the PV inverters, will have to be able to install the best technology to comply with these challenges, with these huge requirements from the grid. Trend number 5. So trend number 5 is solar plus storage. So this we know very well. Everybody knows that solar is gaining and gaining gap in the solar farms. So this is something that we know that by 2025, at least 30% of the solar farms will use some kind of energy storage. As we spoke, with a huge increase of new energies into the grid is being affected. So the storage also becomes a very important part in terms of overcoming the challenges to the grid, frequency regulations, stability, and so on. Only problem right now is the cost. But we will see in the next time how the cost is going down. And with the cost going down, we will see a huge increase of the storage solutions in the solar farms. As I said, by 2025, we expect at least 30% of the solar farms, including some kind of energy storage system. Number 6. So number 6 are the virtual power plants. So this is actually a very important topic also. So due to the friendly policies globally, we have seen a huge increase of residential, commercial, and industrial rooftops. So the reality is that those systems, they work quite independently, okay? But we expect that by 2025, at least 80% of the household systems will be connected to what we call virtual power plant. What does it mean? So that means autonomous systems, being able to dispatch energy, build energy, and even buy energy. That will lead to a huge increase of these kinds of systems, because this is already a reality, but this will come mainstream in only 5 years. This is what we believe. Number seven. So active safety. This is a very important topic. We all know that. So AFCI is a key factor, but it's also becoming not only a standard for rooftops, but also an international standard. We believe it will become a fully required international standards very soon. Why? Because we know the hidden arcs caused by the DC side can lead to fire, to accidents. Actually, we all know a very famous case of a supermarket in the USA where we saw a fire because of this. So again, poor DC contacts, poor DC connection, poor DC cables can lead to a huge risk for both machines and people. Again, AFCI will become an international standard because it makes sense and because it's actually a fantastic protection. Let's go to number 8. So number 8, this is higher power density. What does it mean? So it's important to understand that with the breakthrough of new wideband electronic semiconductors, like the silicon carbide or the gallium nitride, together with advanced algorithm, we expect a collapse, a drop in the power density at least 50% in the next years. What does it mean? So basically today, a 100 kilowatt inverter can have an average weight of 85-90 kilos. So in 5 years, we will see how a 100 kilowatt inverter will actually have a weight of 45 or 50 kilos. Huge drop in the weight, huge increase in the power density. This is the trend for the next future. Number 9, modular design. So this is clear. Inverters, power stations, and others are a key factor, are the main factor in any solar farm. And the reality is that only the modular design can bring the highest flexibility and the lowest O&M cost. We see this today, but this will be even more important in the cloud. And you don't require skilled people to perform the O&M. Again, huge reduction in the O&M cost. Only this way, the future solar farm will be able to be fully bankable. Trustworthiness. What does it mean? So we know very well that safety and credibility are necessary requirements for any solar farm. So let's call it cybersecurity. Capacity of solar farms increasing globally, the reality is that the network architecture is getting more and more complex. This is where privacy, security, system reliability, and credibility but we know very well that this would become mainstream in the very close future. So these were the 10 trends that Huawei has. Bring we enter the solar bringing a remote and smart solution. This our background is a nice will come faster than when we think, and will again lead and help to a better connected and intelligent world. So hope you like that. Again, hope everyone is safe and stay safe. If you have any questions, please do not hesitate to contact me. Thank you very much. Stay safe. See you soon.
David, we will now move on, and I want to introduce to you Mr. Rizwan Razak, CTO of Huawei FusionSolar for the Middle East and Africa region. Rizwan has joined Huawei in 2015 and is mainly responsible for solar solutions in Huawei Middle East and Africa region in the solar cells channels. Rizwan has more than 10 years of experience in the solar industry as well as the inverter industry. Thank you, Rizwan.
Hi, my name is Rizwan. I'm the channel CTO for Middle East and Africa region. So today I will be presenting some slides about AI boost and optimal LCOE for grid supporting projects. And so let's get started. And for today's slides, there's three types of topics I will be talking about. The Huawei sustainable company as an overview. Then I will be talking about the trends in the industry. And thirdly, and finally, from my section will be about the Smart PV solution and how that product of the SDS as well as the inverter will be integrated within the PV projects themselves. So with Huawei as a company, I'm going to go very briefly as a company overview. The company has 194,000 employees, and the key feature here, you can see 96,000 of those are situated in R&D. So we use a high level of our staff within the research and development in order to ensure we are bringing a high value product and robust product into the market. We are covered in 170 different countries, so it's very easy for us to be situated for the O&M perspective in terms of the projects themselves. We have many different R&D facilities globally, in Europe, in China, and in other regions as well. So within the company organization, there's been a year-on-year growth, around about 19% year-on-year growth for the last 6 years. And already for 2020, for Q1, is already a $26 billion US dollar revenue achieved from the company. So it's segmented into three areas, the company. It's the carrier business, which is the largest part, and that's where the telecoms and the 5G is situated. Then we have the consumer, which is a growing sector of the company. And these are where you probably most know of the product, the Huawei phones, laptops, dongles, and also the Wi-Fi dongles as well. Now, where the inverter business is situated is within the enterprise business, and that's where the inverter business, and that's where we're bringing our product from. Now, as I mentioned earlier on, we have a substantial amount of staff within the R&D sector, and on average, we are spending around 9 to 10% on our revenue within the research and development. So the number of percentage of that over $100 billion we are spending within the R&D. You can see in the middle section there that we are one of the top ranked R&D companies on a global scale. And in terms of bringing the products, we are one of the first in the 5G chipset products as well. Now, going into solar itself, and that's probably why you guys have joined today, we would like to indicate some of the key trends within the industry. So on the left-hand side of the screen is what you can see is a central versus string difference. So the blue area is indicating the string inverter market, and the gray area is indicating the string inverter, the centralized inverter. Now, as you can see, back in 2014, the percentage was heavily pushed towards the centralized inverter market. Now, as the years have been swifting over, the string inverters has actually been more dominating as of 2018, where the first time the string inverter was actually more mainstream for the utility scale projects. Another thing on the right-hand side of the screen you can see from IHS is that from 2015 to 2019, Huawei has achieved the #1 position in terms of global shipment. Now, in terms of the solar projects themselves, Huawei is the #1 in terms of supply and shipment of product. And we've now accumulated, as of the end of 2019, 118 gigawatts of supply. Now, that's across a global reach from Europe to Middle East, and all the way into the Africa market, Africa and Northern and Southern American market as well. And here are some of the key reference projects that we have been able to achieve. And one of the key objectives with our customers and achieving these projects is working closely in order to achieve the lowest LCOE factor. Now, later today, we will be passing on the webinar to my colleague Alex, who will be going through in detail how this is achieved. One of the new products that we have released to the market in 2018 is the SDS, Smart Transformer Station. So we've heard and listened to our customers, the requirements, what they require. They want a full turnkey solution. And what that means is not just the inverter component, they also require the additional AC auxiliaries as well. So they want the low voltage panel, they want the transformer, they also require the ring main unit. So we've developed this with internally the specification of the transformer station to adopt with the inverter, the string inverters that we are supplying to the market. So as of 2018, we've managed to bring a product to the market, and we've got around 3 gigawatts plus of shipped of these units in the market now. And as you can see, they are globally installed, whether in Europe, in Mexico is one of the promising markets for us, and also we are soon releasing this product for the Middle East market as well. Now, as I mentioned before, we work very heavily in partnership with all of our customers, and here are some of the differences. So we work with a lot of customers where potentially they've used a centralized inverter, and we are promoting our string inverter. So initially, it is a case study workmanship with our customers. And you can see here the customers which have compared our product with a typical centralized inverter, and you can see the variations in the performance and yield increases that they are able to achieve with the string inverter. And these are with the multiple MPPT feature, higher conventional efficiency factors, a lower self-consumption. So I'll go through how in particular these features in the coming slides. Now, in terms of the product range itself, we are covering all scenarios. We're covering the residential sector. We are also covering the commercial and industrial sector, and we are also covering the utility scale inverter sector as well. So coming into the trends within the solar energy sector, I'll go through some of the things, what has happened in the last 7 to 8 years, what is happening this year, and what we see envisioned in the next 5 to 10 years in the market. So on the left-hand side of the screen, you can see the past 10 years of the energy, of where that energy is coming from. So predominantly it's coal, gas as being a key objective there. And in the future, by around the next future 20 years, we see that being reduced from the fossil fuel industry. So coal, gas will be reduced. And then there will be a growth within the PV, wind, for example, renewables will be increased. Another factor that we also see changing is the LCOE. So LCOE over the last 10 years has substantially dropped as we come into 2020, and we see that declining further as well as the price of these components and the competitiveness of PV projects become more mainstream. Other factors which we see within the PV sector itself is bifacial modules. So this is a dual-sided PV module where it's able to achieve energy from the front along with the backside energy as well. So the growth, in particular for utility scale sector, bifacial modules will be more cost effective to be used on the utility scale applications. Additional to that is the tracking. So with these large utility scale projects, the tracking system will be more adaptable with the projects themselves. So the cost of these trackers are becoming lower, the actual features and the operating cost of the trackers are becoming more robust. So the adaptation of the trackers will be more mainstream for the utility scale projects. Lastly, as I mentioned earlier on in my slides, is the string inverters. So central versus string will be more dominating, and as we come into around 2022, we will see around 60.5% of string inverters being more mainstream. Now let's go into the FusionSolar Smart PV Solution as a product and as a package which is being offered from Huawei. So here is an overview of the items that we are supplying to the market. So everything highlighted in red are the components supplied by Huawei. So let's start off with the left-hand side of the screen. You've got the modules themselves with the tracker. So those are typically connected into the Smart PV inverter. That inverter is distributed out in the field, so not in a central location as a conventional centralized inverter would be. So you've got a single string inverter out in the field. There is a direct wire from each inverter going back to the transformer station, which will be acceptable to all of the inverters connected to that block itself. And within that block, you will also have a smart array controller, which will be the communication interface between inverters and the transformer station. Now, we also are supplying a M-bus technology, which is the communication protocols from the inverter to the smart ACU cabinet. So we are supplying inverters, we're supplying the smart array controller, which is a communication device, along with the SDS, so smart transformer station. Lastly, one of the features we are providing is the monitoring. So for the monitoring, we are offering the FusionSolar monitoring platform. Now, why would you look at string inverters? So one of the things and objectives of the inverters since we brought them to the market in 2013 is the multiple MPPT feature. So what does multiple MPPT feature mean? So maximum power point tracking. So with a single MPPT, if there is a typical shade effect on your array, that would reduce the impact on your production. So having multiple inputs of MPPTs within the inverter, if there was to be an effect of a loss of generation due to shading or defects of your PV modules, the remaining strings into the inverter with the other MPPTs are able to ensure a maximum performance. So looking at the right-hand side of the screen, you can see a comparison on the mismatch factor. So generally highlighted in the red is the string inverter mismatch loss, and in the gray you can also see the mismatch loss with a typical centralized inverter. Now year one, generally you are getting a very similar value of your mismatch. Although it's very marginally different of 0.6 to 0.8, as the years increase between year 1 and 25, as you can understand, the degradation of modules increases. So the defects increase, and that will then reduce the expectancy of your PV modules. So having a multiple MPPT feature will allow the maximum production for any degradation that is potentially happening on your site. Another factor is the higher yield compared to bifacial modules. So here is a case reference using a bifacial module compared to a monofacial module. So there is an increase because of the backside gain that is able to achieve. So depending on the climatic conditions and the geographical location, there can be an increase in the production power when using the bifacial modules. Availability. Now, it's a very hot topic, and everybody is referring to various different values. So as standard within PVSys, there is no set value, and this is an input point which you need to be evaluating based on your overall PV plant. So with a centralized inverter or other types of inverters in the market, you need to evaluate what is their failure rate. So failure rate is something which is going to be a downtime of your PV plant per year. So with Huawei, we are having a very low failure rate, which I'll show in the later slides. And we recommend that because of the modular design, you are able to, again, generate more energy with a modular design based on if an inverter was to go down, it's only a small proportion of your site compared to a typical centralized inverter where a large proportion is going down. And in some circumstances, you will have to then get a specialist from the O&M company or from the manufacturer itself to then rectify that problem with the centralized inverter. So availability, we've gone through with a third-party company. So here is an example from TUV where we've done a verification for several different projects on guaranteeing the availability on several different projects. So you can see here, TUV have evaluated the production power of the site on 3 different cases, and they've come up with an availability of 99.996% of availability. So this is very easy and able to achieve with a modular design and a low failure rate product. So AI Boost, one of the key things that I mentioned in the beginning of my presentation today, AI Boost optimized tracking control tracking algorithms. So what does this mean? So we are working with several different tracker manufacturers, and the names of those are mentioned on the bottom right-hand side of the screen. So how that works is smart DC system. So this inverter is out in the field, and these inverters are then connected directly to the tracker motors themselves. So we can communicate with the tracker motors to ensure that the optimum angle is achieved with each tracker itself. So as you can see on the bottom side of the screen, we minimize any shading effects that you will be having on the PV modules compared to a standard tracking system, which will all be at the same angle. So on some circumstances, early hours of the morning or late evening, you will find some proportion of your site having a shading impact due to the inter-row shading. So this can be eliminated using the smart DC system. So here is an example video on the bottom right-hand side where you can see the smart DC system integrated and the other project where it's not integrated. So there is a very small portion of your site or time of the day where you'll be able to achieve more generation. Now coming into self-consumption, lower self-consumption, this needs to be evaluated on a case-by-case scenario and depending on the type of inverter that you're looking to evaluate it with. So with our product, there's no further loss factor due to cooling. All of the cooling is incorporated within the efficiency factor. Self-consumption of the transformer stations themselves are lower compared to a competitor's option. So when you are inputting these points within a simulating software, these are generally lower, down to around 0.01%, compared to other types of self-consumptions going up to around 1%. Now, fuse-free design. So whenever Huawei has developed a product since 2013, we haven't incorporated fuses within our inverters. So fuses are vulnerable parts, and the vulnerable parts will increase the operating cost of your PV plant. So we've eliminated the fuse protection within the inverter, and we've then incorporated maximum of 2 strings connected up to each MPPT. So this meets the requirements of the standards, as well as reducing the operating cost of your PV plant. So it makes the product more robust and more costly for the manufacturer itself. However, it brings a overall more efficient product for the long term of the project. Cooling. So IP66 and cooling design. So it's very difficult to achieve a IP rating of anything more than IP54 with a typical centralized inverter. Whereas with a string inverter, it's more efficient to have a higher IP rating. So with the Huawei, we are able to achieve an IP66 rating with a complete enclosed environment for the DC side. Communication. So M-bus versus the standard RS485. So RS485 itself is a method where you are using a hardwire cable going back from the inverters or DC combiner boxes back to a central block design. With the inverters supplied by Huawei, we have now incorporated a chipset which is now using M-bus technology. So M-bus is a methodology similar to a PLC. However, the response and the speed of transition of the signals is faster. So the kilobytes per second is rapidly faster than the standard RS485, along with the elimination of the cabling itself. The RS485 cabling going back from the DC combiner boxes back to the centralized inverters is eliminated. So it's a further cost saving and more robust solution for the end client. As I mentioned earlier on, failure rates. So we are with 118 gigawatts of products supplied to the market on a global scale. We are less than 0.5% failure rate. And this is based on all variations of projects, whether in Europe, in the Middle East, and Africa, in China. Overall, the failure rate is less than 0.5%. And I just want to highlight here, we are able to adapt our product into all scenarios. So whether it's salt mist, we've got a verification that the product is an IP rating and can eliminate the salt mist requirements. So the product can satisfy that requirement. Now, in terms of hot and sandy environments, the product can withstand high temperatures. Now, humidity is another factor. So the product that is being supplied, we can factor in with our latest generation product 0 to 100% humidity factors. So going into high temperature and coastal environments, we can satisfy that requirement as well. Rooftop installations. So the product can be installed out in the field with a recommended coverage above the inverter itself. Quick and faulty recovery of the inverter itself. So as I described earlier on in my slides, and as you can see here, the inverter behind me, the inverter is very compact, it's very lightweight, so it's a very small product, and it's more efficient for the operating team. So with around, our latest product is around 84 kilograms, the 185 kilowatt inverter, and this is very easily accessible by man. So there's no need for specialist equipment to be used to remove inverters or install inverters. So with a lightweight design, it's more efficient, more easier, and typically around 30 minutes to 1 hour to replace a faulty inverter if that was to happen out in the field. String level monitoring. So with all of the number of MPPTs, so with this particular inverter behind me, it's a 90 kilowatt inverter. It has 6 MPPTs and 12 inputs on the bottom of the inverter. The inverter which is displayed on your screen is the 185 kilowatt inverter. So that has 9 MPPTs and 18 inputs. So a maximum of 2 strings per MPPT. So the response time or the efficiency of the sensoring within the inverter is down to 0.5%. So if there was to be any shading or cloud coverage on a single MPPT, the other MPPTs on the inverter is still able to perform at 100%. IV Curve is a tool that we are supplying as a software. So there's no additional hardware required. So you've got the inverter here, and within that inverter, you would then connect back to a central data logger, and that's the smart logger that we are recommending. So as long as these 2 types of products are installed on your site, and you're transmitting that data to a monitoring platform called FusionSolar, we can then also enable a function called IV Curve. So this year we are promoting this tool, and you can then use this tool as an IV Curve software to evaluate the cost saving that you are able to achieve. So what is IV Curve? Voltage and current, basically measurement of how healthy your strings are. So we've evaluated this based on a recent project in Saudi Arabia, and we can see roughly $500 a megawatt per year, typical traditional OPEX costs. So this can be reduced substantially using the IV Curve tool. So there's no labor required on site to do this. There's no specialist tool required for this. So it's using the features within the inverter and a software which has been approved by a third-party TUV on this particular tool itself. So IV Curve, we've been having this available for several years now. It's around 5 gigawatts plus of operating sites. Customers are very happy and satisfied with this IV Curve, so it really helps on maximizing the revenues of your PV plant. So you can check 100% of your PV plant. So you can probably imagine with a 300 megawatt site, doing an IV Curve diagnostic for your whole site can take quite a while. It can take manpower, it can take around a month, or if not more, to carry out a full IV Curve diagnostic for the 100% of this site. Now, typically for projects such as this size, it is required by the O&M team to do a certain percentage of the site only. Now, that we've evaluated normally allows for further losses in your PV plant year on year. So doing a full IV Curve diagnostic for the whole PV plant maximizes the performance and actually increases the revenue of the PV plant itself. We have done many case studies with a lot of our consultants on a global scale. So in the Middle East, we've worked with Altron, and the most recent report which we worked with is Vectron Quatron. In this region, we worked with Fitchner as well for a project in Kuwait, evaluating string inverters versus a centralized inverter. And they look at various different cases. So they look at CapEx analysis. They also look at OPEX and also yield as well. So you can see some of the highlights of these reports mentioned on the screen. These reports are readily available. And please do get in contact with the Huawei team, and we are able to discuss these reports in more detail with you. And if needed, we can also share them once we can discuss further. Another factor, which is a most recent evaluation from our experts in headquarters, is that as there is an increase of renewables into the grid, it's going to start causing impact to the grid itself. So the SCR and the fault ride through factors that the inverters need to withstand need to be increased. So the inverters need to ensure that the short circuit ratio are able to be as low as 1.5. So as the more renewables is getting incorporated, to ensure that the renewables is able to be connected to the grid, you need to make sure that the products that you're connected to the grid is able to adapt to certain requirements. Now, if these requirements are not able to be met, you will be requested by the grid operator to curtail your site to a smaller power. By the grid operator to curtail your site to a smaller power, impacting your generation revenue in your PV projects. So this is a factor which a lot of people forget about, thinking that they have a capacity of X amount of megawatt and they can then be generating that for 20 years. However, as we all know, there's been a substantial growth in renewables, and this will increase in the next 5 to 10 years. So the inverters are a key component in order to adapt to that. So we mentioned about SCR and also fault ride-through. Another factor is the harmonics. So we need to make sure that the harmonic factor of the inverter can be withstanding less than 3%, or in some cases less than 1% as well. So we've evaluated how the inverter performs at various different THD values, and we can very comfortably say that our product will produce less than 3%. And in some cases, when we've evaluated that with other types of products in the market, it actually, the inverters are actually switching off because they can't withstand that low point. Now, I just want to conclude. Thank you very much for the time today. I'm going to hand it over back to my colleague. And if there's any further questions on the utility scale applications, please feel free to get in contact. Thank you.
We will now move over to our next topic, and I want to introduce to you Mr. Titus Kush. He's technical services with Jinko Solar for the Middle East and Africa region. Titus is also an electrical and electronics engineer with 7 years experience in the renewable energy industry for Africa, and he's got a vast experience in design optimization as well as implementation in all segments of renewable, namely utility, CNI, as well as hybrid mini grids solar projects. Thank you, Titus.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you so much for joining us today in our webinar. My name is Titus Kush from Jinko Solar, Technical Service Department, Middle East and Africa. Today we're going to have a discussion on advanced PV technologies that have played a key role in lowering LCOE in 2020. I'm really hoping that you're going to learn a lot from the session, and if you do have any queries, please do ask at the end of the session. To start with, allow me to briefly introduce and also give some key facts about Jinko Solar. Jinko Solar is a Chinese module manufacturer established in the year 2006. And also we are leading globally in terms of shipments, having shipped up to 25 gigawatts of modules as at Q4 of 2019. We currently command a global market share of 12.8% and also own a cell efficiency record of 24.58. We've recently been ranked as the most bankable PV manufacturer for the 5-year period between 2015 and to 2020, that is by PV Tech. We do have 7 global factories for wafer, cell, and also module manufacturing. In our product portfolio, we currently have 3 series of products, that is Cheetah Swan, Tiger, and also Tiger Pro, with a maximum power class of 585 watt peak. Cheetah and Swan were launched in 2018 and 2019 respectively, whereas Tiger and Tiger Pro were launched in 2020. Now, back to our main topic of the day, that's levelized cost of energy, which I can define as the cost of power produced over a period of time. It's a key parameter that's used to compare different technologies for energy generation. And it also acts as an indicator of the competitiveness of the energy generation technology. This is because it would be difficult to compare different technologies because they have different lifespans. So it would be difficult to compare them using capex or the initial investment. For renewable energy, also solar PV, the LCOE has greatly reduced for the past few years, and even becoming more competitive and reliable than use of traditional fossil fuels. LCOE puts consideration both commercial and technological aspects. Commercially, the cost of the PV module, inverter, BOS, rather balance of system installation, land, and also R&M cost plays a key role in determining the LCOE. Also of importance is the yield generation. Like the case of solar PV, the yield, energy yield is actually dictated by a number of factors, including the efficiency of the module, the degradation of the module, the warranties, the temperature coefficient, the power tolerance, the reliability of the module, among other factors. The most recent record low LCOE we've seen was for solar PV was in the Al Dhafra project in Abu Dhabi, announced in April 2020, with a record 1.35 US cents per kilowatt hours. Now to dive into the trends in LCOE, as you can see from the graphs that is from Bloomberg, there's a deep dive in LCOE from the past years, especially for renewable energies like PV and wind. And ideally, Bloomberg estimates that currently for 2020, solar PV LCOE has fallen to $50 per megawatt hours. So if you compare it to the second half of 2019, that's a 4% reduction in LCOE. And also, it also tallies with reports from other institutions now proving that solar PV is among the cheapest sources of energies in a number of countries, regions like Australia, China, some part of Middle East and Africa, and also some part of Southern America. Now, for solar PV, we've undergone a number of technological changes, rather advances in the last few years, especially since the introduction of the high efficiency monocrystalline cells. This particularly enabled the production of high power and also high efficiency solar PV modules. So the high power density, or rather efficiency, plays a key role in reducing the levelized cost of energy from the solar PV plants. I'm briefly going to highlight some key technologies that have been recently introduced in the market and have played a key role in this. To start with, I would like to indulge into the tiling ribbon technology. This is a new technology that is commercially available now, and it involves the elimination of gaps, that is the traditional gaps, that is 1 to 2 millimeters between the solar cells in the PV module. So this overlapping of the cells and employs use of a special round ribbon to connect the cells. And from the diagrams below, we can see how the overlapping is done, comparing the conventional to the new TR-based modules. Again, also the ribbon used for the overlapping of cells is squeezed at the center to ensure maximum reliability and also reduce chances of micro cracks. What is also key to note is at the overlap region, we're using special encapsulant, that is EVA or POE, at the overlap area to ensure the reliability and also to ensure that the overlap area, or rather the cells, can absorb stress and this is done at high temperatures. Tiling ribbon technology alone has resulted in increasing efficiency of the modules by more than 0.4%. Now, to briefly look into multi-bus bar, I would say multi-bus bar is now becoming a new standard in the industry, not only from Jinko Solar, but also most of our computers are now going that way. And we are slowly phasing out the traditional 5-bus bar modules to pave way for 9-bus bar and 10-bus bar modules. Multi-bus bar reduces the current path, by more than 50%, and minimizing the internal losses in the cells. So it still also involves the use of round ribbons, or rather wires, instead of the conventional rectangular ribbons. The round ribbon has smaller cross-sectional area, which implies that there's an increase in the ribbon resistance according to this particular formula. And also looking into the formula below on how to calculate the relationship between PR and the relation between PR and ribbon resistance, you can see there's a direct relationship. So that means that an increase in ribbon resistance will ideally result into an increase in the performance ratio as well. Also, comparing now the round ribbon and also the rectangular ribbon used before, is that the round ribbon essentially improve the optical features of the module by reflecting more light into the solar cells. So ideally, this will improve the IM values, and you can see this from the pan file reports that can always be shared to you. And now is what we can say is Jinko modules ideally with 9-bus bar and also 10-bus bar are proven to generate up to more than 1.5% more power compared to conventional 5-bus bar modules. Now, allow me to now look into the half-cell technology, which is not really a new technology, but a rather trend in the industry at the moment. And we also expect that beginning next year, all our modules will be half-cell technology. The technology involves carrying the cells into 2 equal halves to reduce the internal losses in the solar cells. This is essentially will result into low working temperatures and also reduce chances of hotspots in the modules. And just to mention is Jinko's modules with the half-cell technology have the lowest and also the best industry temperature coefficient, that is of minus 0.35% per degree Celsius, hence increasing the yield at regions with high temperatures. So also is thing that I want to also briefly talk about is on bifacial modules, especially with transparent backets. And bifacial modules with dual glass have been existing in the market for the past few years. And ideally, bifacial modules involve generation from the front and the rear side of the module. So in 2019, Jinko in partnership with DuPont came up with an innovative solution of using transparent bucket for bifacial modules. So the transparent bucket compared to glass modules, one is better heat dissipation compared to glass modules, and hence resulting to low module temperatures. The other principal advantage of the tailor-based transparent bucket is the self-cleaning feature because of the stain resistance. This will result into reduced soiling at the rear side of the modules, and hence reduces the frequency of cleaning, of the module on the rear side. So now is also the other key thing about the transparent bucket is it results to modules of lighter weight compared to glass module, and it makes a lot of economic sense, especially when you're going to the high power modules. where we need to control the weight of the modules. So from looking into the LCOE contribution of the transparent backsheet is that it has played a key role in reducing the O&M costs, that is by up to 5% because of the self-cleaning features, and also because of the lightweight, reducing the mounting and also the labor costs. So just because by 15 and 20% respectively. Just to give a case on how we've applied all these technologies in to achieve an high power and also high efficiency module is the case of the Tiger Pro module using the high efficiency cells and also multi-bus bar, that is now 10 bus bar, and tiling ribbon technology to have the overlap between the cells. And for the bifacial version of the module, we're using this special transparent backsheet that that's a Tedlar film to ensure the self-cleaning features and also better heat dissipation. So all this combined ideally resulted to high power and also high efficiency, and this finally low LCOE. Now to wrap up our session today, I would like to briefly give an LCOE case study for a 120 megawatt project in Vietnam. In this calculation, we basing the calculation on a DC-AC ratio of 1.2 and a conservative bifacial gain of 7%. And now the calculation is to compare between the 500 watt peak module and Tiger Pro monofacial and bifacial modules. And what you can see is that looking into the initial investment cost and also the labor cost, see that the Tiger Pro is achieving the lowest cost and also the lowest LCOE of around 3.86 US cents per kilowatt hours compared to 4.16 and 4.25, that is for the monofacial and the 500 plus 500 watt peak module. So in conclusion, I would say we are confident that tier-based modules with half-cut and also transparent backsheet will result to reduce LCOE and increase IRR and return on investment of PV plants. Thank you so much, and have a good afternoon.
Thank you very much, Status. We will now move into our easy quiz, and I just want to also remind all our participants to please click on the questionnaire button, which will appear on the top of your screen, to complete and participate in the quiz, where we will later announce some lucky winners.
I will soar, I'm undefeated, oh, jumping out of my skin, pull the cord, yeah, I believe it, oh, the past is everything we were, don't make us who we are, so I'll dream until I make it real, and all I see is stars, it's not until you fall that you fly. When your dreams come alive, you're unstoppable. Take a shot, chase the sun, find the beautiful. We will glow in the dark, turning dust to gold, and we'll dream impossible. impossible. I will chase, I will reach, I will fly until I'm breaking out my cage like a bird in the night. I know I'm changing it into something big, better than before. And if it takes 1,000 lives, then it's worth fighting for. It's not until you fall that you fly. When your dreams come alive, you're unstoppable. Take a shot, chase the sun, find the beautiful. We will go in the dark, turning dust to gold, and we'll dream impossible. To the top, we're sparking wild fast, never quit and never stop. The rest of our lives, from the bottom to the top, we're sparking wild fast, never quit and never stop. It's not until you fall that you fly. When your dreams come alive, you're unstoppable. Take a shot, chase the sun, find the beautiful. We will go in the dark, turning dust to gold, and we'll dream impossible. And we'll dream impossible.
Thank you, everybody, for participating in the quiz. Hope you all have answered the correct answers. And like I said previously, we will announce the winners later in the webinar. Just a reminder for all our participants, on the 21st of October, we will have another webinar where we will look at the topic of FusionSolar Smart PV, ultra-safe CNI rooftop solutions, as well as system designs. Please save the date. And also, I just want to announce to everybody that these webinars will be available on our Huawei FusionSolar YouTube channel. So if any given time you would like to revisit these events, please feel free to visit the YouTube channel. All these events will be broadcasted and published on the YouTube channel. We will now move into our live Q&A session. And also feel free, if there's any questions that you would have, please, my contact details are also listed on the screen. Please feel free to contact myself so that we can assist with the questions that you might have. On the other side, we've got Rizwan that who will help to assist with answering of the questions. Let's have a look and see our first question. Our first question is the IP66 rating. Is this for Europe or inclusive of temperatures for other countries?
Okay, so it's a very good question, and we have two types of IP ratings for the Huawei inverters. So we originally, and when we launched our product to the market, we had an IP65 product, and our latest generation products are now being supplied with an IP66 rating. This is compliant to all global projects, and not just focused for certain markets such as Europe. This is globally the same case.
Thank you very much, Rizwan. Moving along to our next question. Will your string inverter, the 15 amp or 600 watt module, can you still get away without fuses?
That is correct. It is still able to be connected, potentially depending on the type of inverter that you are looking to connect it to. Due to the high current of these PV modules, they may witness some clipping at some peak times of the day. But our latest generation inverters, for example, the 100 kTL M1 has a 26 ampere limit on the MPPT point and a max short circuit current of 40 amperes. So the latest products are supporting the high-powered modules in order to accommodate for the trends in the industry that are occurring.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you, Rizwan. Just having a look. I've got another question here. When the new inverter of 100 kilowatt, when will the new inverter of 100 kilowatt be available? As with the new models, the MPPT input current is not sufficient currently, and the high module ratings such as 500 watts, and because of the 20 input inverter is limited to a 10 put only.
That's not the case. So this latest inverter, the 100 kTL M1 product, has been available in the market for the past 1 year. So we've got quite a lot of global references already applied with this new 100 kTL M1. When the case is with the 20 inputs on this particular inverters, you can duplicate 2 connections to each MPPT. So although your current may be exceeding the current limit of the MPPT, you're not going to be exceeding the max short circuit current of each MPPT. So what that means is that you can connect 2 strings into the MPPT, and with the high powered modules, there would be some or very little clipping occurred due to the high current of these particular modules. Now, what is Huawei doing to accommodate for these further high concentrated PV modules? So with our utility scale sector, our latest product, the 200 kTL H2 product, actually has 30 ampere limit per MPPT. So this allows for these high powered modules of 540 or even higher, where the current is around 14 or slightly above that, in order to connect 2 strings in parallel into each MPPT.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Rizwan. Going over to our next question. When will the Huawei Luna be available in South Africa?
Okay, so we are in launching phase as we speak right now with the Luna battery. And we are making our training and supporting documents available with our partners in the Q4 period of 2020. And once that information has clearly been trained and relayed over to our partners sufficiently, we will then be making the Luna battery available to the markets. We are looking for the Southern Africa market to be around Q1 to Q2 of 2021.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Rizwan. I think we've got one more question. There is a few other questions in the webinar. We will also communicate back to all the participants that raised any questions, and we'll answer those questions directly to everybody. The last question that we will take, in case one of the MPPTs is not used, would it affect the efficiency of the inverter?
No. The simple answer is no. Just to elaborate slightly further on the MPPT, my suggestion is not leaving any of the MPPTs empty. If you, for example, have a 100 kTL M1 inverter, which has 20 DC inputs, I am suggesting not to leave one of the MPPTs empty. Use each of the MPPTs in order to accommodate for the maximum amount power point tracking and reducing the mismatch impact on your PV plant. Having a MPPT redundant is not going to benefit you in any way, and it will not affect the efficiency of the inverter.
That is correct. Thank you very much, Rizwan. And like I mentioned before, any of the other questions that is raised in the chat box, we will get back to you guys via email communication.
Okay, thank
Thanks,
you very much,
Rizwan, for your
Anthony,
time.
and I'll hand it back over to you. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much. We will now announce make public to you the winners of our quiz. Okay, so the winners of the quiz, we've got Kevin Norris from South Africa, Jonathan Petit from Israel, Muhammad Rafiq from Pakistan, Andrew from South Africa, Umar Javad from Pakistan, Muhammad Afzaal from Pakistan, Muhadsar Amin from Pakistan, Rami Rishni from Lebanon, Ilandre from South Africa, Patrick Rahul from Cameroon, Roxanne Mayring from South Africa, Marlene Reinecker from South Africa, Anwar from South Africa, Keegan from South Africa, Marius Miller from South Africa, Anthony Schooner from South Africa, Robert Upton, South Africa, Muhammad Hassin, Pakistan, Stefan Ukajam from Nigeria, Abram from Nigeria, Alan Cortez from KSA, Millicent from South Africa, Aliu from Nigeria, and Julian Pillay from South Africa. Thank you all for participating in the quiz, and congratulations to all the winners. We will communicate with you shortly how to claim the prizes. We have now reached the end of our webinar, and I thank you all for attending and joining this event. Once again, I just want to remind you all that this is a series of events. We've got 3 more events left in this series. Please remember to save the date of the 21st of October for our next event. And also, like I mentioned previously, should you want to revisit these webinars, it will be available on our FusionSolar YouTube channel. Thanks all again for attending this event. Keep safe, have a good evening, and enjoy the rest of your evening. Thank you. Goodbye.